Now I'm back. 2 videos in 2 days, and the last one it was 24 minutes, so it wasn't bad going. Anyhow, this is part two. Part two of my examination of the Rush album Vapor Trails. We started yesterday, and we discussed the tracks up to including Vapor Trails, and we're going to start again with Secret Touch. I read, just before we start, I read a cracking little article in Rolling Stone magazine today. Read it online, The Spirit of Neil Peart. If you can find it, I recommend it. It's a good read. It was quite interesting. Well, it was very interesting, very enlightening. I enjoyed it. Secret Touch. It always had a feel of red barchetta to me, with the beginning and the little long ending. Always had that feel of red barchetta. So good bass playing by Geddy. Track romps along, moves quite well, sounds great. It's always a good track to hear live. Always worked live for me in the 2 tours I played it on. Good music. Now, looking online, there's a few different interpretations of this song. Its card is the hermit. Now, it does give a bit of point you in a certain direction. Now, I think the phase in the song, out of sync with the rhythm as your own reaction, does let you into a glow. It's definitely from the Ghost Rider time when he's written this. But I think at the time, Neil was reading a lot of books on grief. It's all in the Ghost Rider book. And he knew all the different stages you went through in the grief process. Different stages, that rings a bell at the time, doesn't it? Was that a live album they released at the time? It was, wasn't it? And he knew he was moving from one stage of the grief process to another. And that's why I think this song's about, moving into different grief processes. And actually, he's read a lot about it, so he actually knows the stages he's in. Getting back to the tarot card, it's quite interesting. By facing the truth, we are halfway to accepting it. Acceptance, patience, and inner understanding are the messages brought by the hermit. The need for a patience and a time to work things out quietly, and a degree of solitude is often needed. Yeah, we're there, aren't we? We know exactly what's happening. It's not the only thing that's out of sync here. I think the track's a bit out of sync. I'll go into that a bit later. I think the music itself, the tracks itself, could be laid out better. But that's something we'll discuss later. Anyhow, moving on. There's Shane's The Lovers. The best riff on the album for me. Alex is at his best here. It's the best solo album. A solo guitar solo on the album of a LP, which is a bit limited as far as guitar solos is concerned. It's one of the best tracks on the album. Believe it or not, I ended up a long time studying this, and I ended up studying Italian art, to believe it or not. Because there's an argument in Italian art about sacred love, the difference between sacred love and profane love. Now, I think that gives us a little clue to what Neil's thinking here. You see, within the song, we have a great description of what actually Earthjan is. I mean, I didn't know what it was until I heard the song, and it explains it. Now, Earthjan itself is a very rare phenomenon. natural phenomenon. Now we see Neil, not being a religious person, can't look upon his love, Jackie, in a sacred light. So he's got to elevate her into a natural phenomenon to create that, what you can worship. That's where the air chant comes in. At the same time, he's describing himself as a frail copy of what he used to be. That's the crux of it for me. Now, when you look at the lovers in the book, the dangers, the card actually describes the dangers and pitfalls which attend all the choices, particularly those made in the name of love. It goes on to say that any choice in love will inevitably bring about repercussions and complications. A relationship or love affair with some is a sort of trial. Obviously, Jackie's death has caused that. He's not a religious man, so he can't put her in a divine light. He's got to create something what's more natural and earthly, and that's what the Earth Chant is, in my opinion. I like it a lot. It's a great track. Sweet Miracle it's the highlight of the album for me. I love it. It's pretty short for what Rush normally do. Punchy little rock track, snappy riff, great chorus. And for me, it's got the highlight of Geddy's vocals. When he sings Oh Salvation in that middle section, I mean, it's the best he's ever sung. It's beautiful, it's brilliant, and his high-pitched voice fits that perfectly. It's a roller coaster ride. It explains the full story from doom and gloom to self-love and salvation in just over 3 minutes. And there aren't many bands in the world who can do that. Not like that. That's why I love the track so much. It's a complete roller coaster ride, and it's a cracking track. The card is the Ace of Cups. Now, cups themselves refer to water and feeling and emotions. The Ace of Cups creates the emotion out the song and indicates the beginning of a relationship. That's what it says in the cards here, and that's exactly what sentiment comes over in the song. And the way they've done it is beautiful. I love it. It's for me, it's the highlight of the album. But then the problems start occurring. We've gone from Salvation right back to doom and gloom. For me, Nocturne and Freeze just don't work. They're in the wrong place. Plus, that what I've explained earlier, that it's packed, it's too much music, it's too many lyrics, it's cram-packed in. They don't want to be there. For me, I come out the album. I don't think they're necessary. And if there was necessary, to come earlier in the little story we're pursuing here. So to me, they're uncalled for, they're needed. But however, we'll go through them. The title Nocturne itself has a double meaning. It can be a work of art relating to the evening or the night, or it can be looked upon as a dreamy composition. When you look at the card, the actual card, it says it often indicates uncertainty and even illusion. Can be also suggest that solutions to problems can be found through dreams and intuitions rather than reason and logic. Don't need to be a rocket scientist to work that one out, that it relates to the song there. But then again, to me, it's already been said before. It's Neil has a lot of ways he wants to make a point, but he does it in different ways with different songs. He'll make the same point with 2 songs in a different way. This, for the flow of the album, don't need to be there. Same as Freeze. I mean, Freeze is the 8 of Swords. I mean, if I read the Eight of Swords, it gives it's an exact explanation of the song. A woman stands bound and blindfolded in what appears to be a marsh. 8 swords from the barrier around her, and behind her in the distance stand a castle built upon bare rocks. A dismal looking card in which the seeker is afraid of moving out of a situation which binds and restricts him. The restrictions are upon him through his own fear and indecision. But positively this card suggests that a sign will come to show him the way. The seeker must remain courageous, as there are problems to overcome and important decisions to be made. He will not remain paralysed by his own fears forever. Explains the song perfectly for me. That's where the cards hit the home again. It's a different time. The song itself, the music itself, in a different time. 7/4. It's got a catchy. One thing that saves it, it's got a catchy little chorus, a little Pete Townsend little chorus. What's catchy, and that sort of like saves the song. But it's definitely out of sync on the album. Using Neil's phrase, definitely out of sync. It's in the wrong place. As I said, we come from Salvation to Doom and Gloom. It's not supposed to be there, but the next track is. The whole album ends with a fall. That's the card. The song is Out the Cradle. Now this, to me, should be a song after Sweet Miracle. Upbeat, catchy rhythm, great chorus. But Neil's found that spark of electricity again, through love. The outcomes of all this tragedy, as it is found the inspiration and the spark of energy. Neil's arrived at his garden, says poem. The cards are full, and I read. Me with my hands, you found it in the book. You may be sure that an unexpected influence will soon come into play. There may be a sudden unlooked for opportunity or the possibility of escape. The Fool represents the need to abandon the old ways and start something new and untested. Anything could happen. We've hit that bumped little trap before, haven't we? So that's where we're at. Now, in conclusion for me, the CD's too long. I dropped Peaceable Kingdom because it's not relative to the subject matter of the other tracks. It's obviously bunged in because of what happened during the recording, and it doesn't really fit. I'd also Freeze and Nocturne I'd leave out, and that'd knock something like 15 minutes, 16 minutes off the album. It still clocks in over 50 minutes, but for me it becomes a lot more accessible, a lot more listenable. Now, I'd change the running order as well. I mean, I'd look upon starting with One Little Victory, Ceiling Unlimited and Ghost Rider. Have Stars Look Down and How It Is, and then I'd move Secret Touch in there and Earthshan. Then play Vapor Trails and have Sweet Miracle and Out of the Cradle at the end. For me, that tells a little story. That tells a little story of grief, of disaster, of journey, of overcoming it, of how he's overcoming it, and what he's gonna do with that new inspiration. That tells it better. It puts the flow better, and it describes Neil's healing road a lot better, doing it that way, than actually bunging it all in. For me, what they've done, they've just sort of like bunged it in and placed it everywhere. You could have put them 3 tracks on the remastered version at the end or something like that if they wanted to eventually release them. But it's a more palatable album for me doing it that way. It's more listenable. and you can, I think you get doing it that way, you get the gist of the story a lot better. There's also like a guitar solos for me on this. Alex It might be prevalent musically, but he don't knock a big solo on this, and that's a shame. Individual of the album for me is Neil. It's lyrically, I think it's very interesting. It's some of his deepest lyrics, and as I said before, it's a change, total change from science fiction and philosophy and nature and the individual over the masses, individual freedoms, to actually looking at his own feelings, and that's why you've got to give him some credit for coming out with it. Lyric of the album, it's got to be foot upon the stair, shoulder to the wheel. Can't tell yourself how to care, can't tell yourself how to feel. I mean, that's him getting his head down in it and getting on with life on his journey on the alien road. Great lyric. Unknown fact, this cover, the sleeve, the new one, not designed by you, Sam. Lisa Glans did it. And while we're talking about the new and the old, the new is definitely a better production than the old. I mean, even on my simple equipment, that sounds a lot better. Sounds clearer. Get his vocals clearer. And that they all say that was muffled, and it is muffled. It is muffled. There's one question. Yeah, so that was my 18th out of 19. I've got an idea what my 17th is going to be. I'll be a week or so doing it. I'll enjoy doing it as well, because I've listened to these albums countless times, but not necessarily in as much depth I'm going into them at the moment, and it's quite. I'm enjoying it, particularly in lockdown. I mean, what else do you do? Nothing. One question I want to throw out there to all your Rush fans is this Geddy Lee solo album. How much did that have an influence on Vapor Trails? I mean, this was released in November 2000. 48 minutes long, this. Not 67, 48 minutes long. Just imagine if this would have been a Rush album. All the ideas, all the great melodies, and all the great choruses on here would have been saved for Vapor Trails. We've had a cracking album then. We've had an absolute cracking album. Did Geddy releasing this, was it a detriment to the latest Rush album? That's a question I'm going to pose. Anyhow, I'm done. I'll see you next time. Endlessly rocking.